we have some breaking news and an update to a story we have been talking about. The Department of Justice says they are considering prosecuting former President Barack Obama. Here it is.
Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
The president yesterday, you've inferred that the former president helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I am not an attorney. The expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people.
She is the director of National Intelligence, DNI, centralized institutional authority for all intelligence agencies out of the United States of America. Significant amount of power. Put it at full mass. Do you remember this? This is what Trump decided to post on his Truth Social site. Of course, it's fake and phony like he is, but he's putting in the mindset of his followers and those that like this kind of stuff, what's coming next. It also gives him credibility that he's the one behind it. You understand? He needs you to know that this is not really Tulsi Gabbard. This isn't really the Department of Justice. It's me. That's what he's saying to you. So he does this picture prior, he does this post. Then all of a sudden there's this press conference. But what happened prior to all of this? A reporter asked Trump, are you in the Epstein files? That happened just a few days ago. Trump did not say no. He said, oh, they were made up by who? Obama. They were made up by Comey. Is President Obama being prosecuted for the Epstein files? Because if those files were made up by President Obama, that would actually qualify as an issue. You got a whole human being who's dead over that, called Epstein. So if that's made up, as you say, Trump, why isn't that being investigated? I hope everybody sees this. I really hope MAGA has seen through Trump enough not to fall for this. And this is why it's so dangerous to go with somebody just because they're the rah-rah person for your particular point of advocacy, but violate all these other points of advocacy at the same time that you said you believed in. Now, Republicans gave up a whole lot of their policy platform. They said, well, we're not going to talk about the budget anymore. That's gone to hell. Trump did that. So we won't make it about money. But we're going to never talk about being moral and ethical again because, well, Trump did that. We're going to take that out now. And Trump did some things they wanted, like the immigration stuff, all right, appealed to their bigoted natures. And so now you have an individual who did all of that in order to always have a crowd that would accept his red meat. He did not train individuals to love policies. He trained them to love red meat. And now he is in the middle of a crisis himself. It must be something serious in those files. Serious. To where he is manipulating his Department of National Intelligence to have them manipulate the Department of Justice. Can I ask one question? Why is it that the Department of Justice, who actually has authority to investigate things like this, why are they not leading the investigation? Why would the Director of National Intelligence be in charge of an investigation like this? And it shows you they're not the proper authority to even investigate. Why? because she can't do a damn thing about it. She has to send it over to the Department of Justice in order for them to do something about it. Why didn't the DOJ investigate? Put it full mask. So days after Trump shared a video of President Obama getting arrested, fake, phony, AI generated, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard confirmed that the Trump administration is considering pursuing criminal charges against former President Barack Obama during a White House press secretary briefing on Wednesday. President Obama, July 22nd, said he stood by the U.S. intelligence community's conclusion that Russia had influenced the 2016 election. Obama's office dismissed the claims as another example of the constant nonsense misinformation that emanates out of that White House. You know, last time I checked, men and women, we weren't arrested for opinions here. Even if that is an opinion held by the former president. That opinion, ironically, doesn't say Trump, it says election. There's actually information on record since the 1960s that Russia has interfered with American elections at various levels, including propaganda that was KKK oriented, not because they supported the KKK, but because they wanted to create disruption in the American political structure. That's on record. All right, dear brother, thoughts here.
Well, I mean, they wanted to create obstruction, and clearly what this White House and this cabinet want to do is create a lot of distraction as well from the Epstein case. And you see it as Speaker Johnson is sending home the House today when they were supposed to be working through the weekend next week because they don't want to have a hearing on Jeffrey Epstein. Now you have DNI coming in and doing that. And who are they handing this off to? When they hand it off to the Justice Department, they're handing it off to Pam Bondi, right? So the fix is in on this. What the reporting that I've read on this says is that this document that Gabbard is referring to is a document that came out of a House Intelligence Committee report in 2017. Remember, even though the House may have been a Democratic House at that point, the House was a Republican House. The president may have been a Democrat. Previous to that, this House intelligence report came from a Republican committee. The Republican committee handed it down. Nothing happened with it, but now this document is coming from that because they have a favorable Justice Department, which they had then. But the difference is now they have a reason to do this, which is to distract from a crippling episode that is going on between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump and investigations into that. And there's breaking news about that too, that while we've been on the air, one of the courts, a court in Florida, has said that they're not going to release what the Trump administration has asked for, which is a release of the grand jury documents in Florida in that case. So there is a lot of smoke and mirrors going on here as well.
And it's so clear that Trump is manipulating almost everything he can, not for the benefit of the American people, not for the benefit of truth, not for the benefit of transparency, but for the benefit of protecting himself. Right. He has still not said he is not in the Epstein files after that question was posed. He has not said that.